thank you again for joining us, and welcome to the server. We're movies and filmmaking. We're a platform or a community here on the Discord platform, and we mostly talk about movies and the art of indie filmmaking. So yeah, we're really excited to be talking with you today, especially about the Fall Guy. We absolutely loved the film, and it was a great love letter to the film industry. So I'm excited to kind of talk about it.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome to the server. If you guys aren't familiar, this is Ben Jenkin. He's one of the stunt performers from The Fall Guy. He was one of the doubles for Ryan Gosling, and I believe he did mostly. And I think you did mostly of like the physical action, right? For Ryan.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, overall, there was four stunt doubles. There was myself and Justin Eaton. We kind of did all the physical stunts. All the car hits, the fire burns, the fights, the falls, the wires, the air rams. And then there was Logan Holiday. He did all the driving. So anything with wheels, that was Logan. And then Troy Brown came in and did the 150-foot high fall out of the helicopter. So there was four of us to make one Fall Guy.
Gotcha. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, movie about a stunt man, a lot of stunt people. So makes sense to me. Um,
Yep.
um, for when people join our server, we kind of usually ask. The big question we ask is, "What's your favorite movie?" And some of our members even specifically ask, "What's your favorite action movie?"
Well, my favorite action movie, like recently, I mean, I've always loved the Mission Impossibles. They've always been great.
Oh yeah.
The Bond series are fantastic. Fall Guy for an action movie is such a special movie when it comes to stunts. But my favorite recently is Top Gun Maverick. I mean, that is a fantastic movie. Slightly different action. It's kind of fighter pilot
Mm.
esque action. But oh god, I love that movie. I must have
Dude,
seen it like 50 times. It's so good.
I'm there with you. I wish we had our video on because you would actually see in the background. I have a Top Gun Maverick poster. I love it so
Oh, no
much, and
way.
I think it's just
Very
like
cool.
you're so immersed in that film, and seeing real things on theaters is always like such a blast. And I think you guys did that too really well in that in the Fall Guy. So
Oh, thank
yeah,
you.
it's such a really great pick. I'm so happy that you said Top Gun.
No, it's the best. It's so good. It's such a
Yes.
good movie. Yeah.
And we got to talk about stunts and what you do. And a lot of our members are asking, like, what inspired you to get into, stunt performance and stunting?
Well, I was always an adventurous kid. I was always climbing things and jumping off things, and before I kind of knew what stunts or what parkour or anything like that was, so I think I was kind of drawn to it at an early age. I
Hmm.
loved the action movies growing up. I loved, Jackie Chan movies
Yeah.
and things like that. And then I came across a documentary called Jump Britain, which was a parkour documentary. So I started
Oh,
training in
cool.
parkour and in England and did that for a long time and was just training and traveling around the world and meeting people. and then um, I kind of made my way out to America. I got signed by a management company. Made my way out to America and started doing smaller jobs like live shows and music videos and workshops and things like that. And along the way, met people who did parkour but also did stunts and was in the film industry. So once I kind of realized that it was a career path, it kind of stuck out to me, and it just made so much sense for me to get into that career.
That's awesome. That sounds like a very like, typical kind of like indie to like rags to riches kind of story. As someone who's like in the indie scene as well as a lot of us, that's really cool to hear that you just kind of started from doing the smaller stuff and kind of working at your craft and then getting to that bigger aspects. And I think some of our members are also, or some of the people that have joined too recently to participate in this, have been asking like, what would you recommend for people trying to get into the stunt industry? Some people mentioned SPA or International Stunt School in Seattle. Is that like a good option? Or are there different ways that you would recommend to kind of get into the stunt industry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many gyms around the world now that are, that have workshops, that have classes, that have, or even designated stunt gyms. Um, so, that's definitely a way. I mean, it helps to it helps to have a background in something. If you grew up doing martial arts, or you grew up, racing go-karts or racing cars, or you ride motorbikes, or you have a parkour background, or even like a diving background, gymnastics, and the kind of list goes on, which of the skill set that kind of that can translate well into stunts. We have, in the industry, there's so many people from so many different backgrounds. So it helps having those skills. Something that you did from a young age. I mean, most of like Logan Holiday has been riding bikes since he was like 4 years old. It's just like in his blood almost. So
Gotcha,
so
yeah.
when he comes to kind of hopping on a motorbike, it's just second nature to him. They ask him to do a wheelie down the street. It's so easy. He spent so much time in the seat and on a bike and in a car, and same with me. I've spent so much time, climbing buildings and up high and jumping from rooftop to rooftop and flipping around, and so it's kind of second nature when someone asks me to, hey, just hop up onto this and then flip off. It's like, okay, it's quite, I don't even have to think about it. So
Gotcha, yeah.
So it definitely helps having a background in something. But the beauty of this day and age, like so many things are on social media, and we have access to so much information and skill sets. Like the progression rate of these skills are so much faster than back in the day. Like, so and having the access to train at really cool places. There's I kind of when I moved to LA, my best friend Travis Wong had a gym out in LA called Jam, called Joining All Movement. And that was just the hub for where LA stunt people went. It was that and Tempest Freerunning Academy that we all went to kind of to practice our craft and hone the skills. And the beauty of this day and age is there's just so many places like that you can go to, and to kind of learn the skills to break into the industry.
That's awesome to hear. I wasn't even aware that there's that many resources for it. And I think someone I know personally who's trying to get into stunt performance, they were kind of asking like, should you kind of learn all of it, or should you pick some sort of specialty, like vehicles versus like what you do, like parkour? Like, do you think that it's good to kind of pick something in that lane, or should you kind of just try it all and then kind of work with moving forward, like in more projects and such?
Well, I think you're always going to progress at a faster rate with something that you love doing, right? So, like, I loved doing parkour, and that was kind of the thing that drew me into this whole thing before I even knew what stunts were. So, and I had a solid 10, 15 years just training parkour, and that was my life, and that was all I wanted to be good at. And once you find something like that, it was easy to do it, and it was easy to train. It never felt like work. It was just training. Even though I wasn't working, I was just training, but it never felt like, oh, I have to go to train. Like sometimes when you go to the gym, you're like, oh, I can't be bothered going to the gym today. But like, it was never like that for me, because I was in love with it. I was in love with the process, and I was in love with progressing and challenging myself, and being creative, and pushing the limits of what's capable, and that was kind of so interesting to me. So but then there's aspects of stunts that when I got into it, I needed to learn. I needed to kind of brush up skills in other areas, learn how to ride wires, learn how to do fight scenes, and learn how to fall, and learn how to kind of do all these other things that are essential skills for being a working stuntman. I mean, you can't really. It's tough to kind of just do one thing unless you're really good at it. So it's better to if you want to be a performer kind of on your feet and not kind of go into vehicle stuff, it's good to be able to do a basic high fall from 20, 30, 40 feet. It's good to be able to know all your falls and take reactions and learn fights, and ride a wire, and do some acrobatics, and it's all of those things are necessary skills to kind of survive in the industry. So it's a tall task, and different countries have different restrictions. The US is kind of a bit of a free for all. You can kind of get into it with very little background and skill. But like there's places like Australia or England.
Yeah, Australia.
England has the British Stunt Register where you have to get graded on like I think it's 6 to 10 different skills, whether that be like horse
Gotcha.
riding, martial arts, diving,
Interesting.
and the list goes on. So and it usually takes about 2 to 3 years to do all of that. So America's not like that.
Hmm.
But other places in the world are. So it definitely takes time to kind of learn the skills needed.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's super insightful. I wasn't aware of the kind of European and Australian kind of rules. You said U.S. and I thought it'd be kind of similar everywhere else, but that's a neat little fact. But
Yeah, yeah.
talking about the film because it's about stunt people and you yourself are, and I just think it's so ironic that Ryan is playing you, but you're playing him, and like that performance kind of back and forth meta aspect of it is really interesting. Do you think that the film portrays like what you guys do and really well, or and does it pay tribute to it like in a good way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can it not? It was directed by one of the best stunt performers in his day and age, David Leitch.
Hmm.
He was Brad Pitt's stunt double back in the day. He doubled him on so many different films, and then he kind of went on to be this fantastic director. And then when he did Bullet Train, he was Brad Pitt's director on the movie, which kind of came full circle. And then so it was the perfect person to direct a movie like this. Um, and and yeah, it really does tell a great story of the stunt performer. There's lots of kind of hidden gems and hidden messages
Hmm.
and inside jokes in there that if you kind of don't work in the industry, it might fly over your head. But if you do, you kind of pick it up and you're like, oh, I get that. Like,
Yeah.
so it was cool. It was really cool to see that. And when I finally got to see the movie, I mean, those things just made me laugh. But yeah, it's the stunt industry, and the stunt performers portrayed really well. I mean, it's Ryan Gosling. He's incredible at what he does, and he really took the time to he spent a lot of time with us leading up to it. We went out there I think 3 months out, and he came 2 months out, and he spent a good part of every day, with the stunt team rehearsing and getting to know, what it's like to rig and ride a wire and
Hmm.
and he was so involved in the creative process. Him and David, he wanted to learn and absorb it all, and that was just that was one of the many things that's great about him.
And I saw that he really respected the stunt performers and like let you guys do your work really well, and I just thought that was I just thought it was a really interesting way to go about the film, and I thought it was a spectacle to see. I had a great time watching it. Talking about those kind of like meta jokes in the industry, you guys kind of talk about stunt people don't get Oscars. One of our members asked like uh, you know they're like a very big prominent person for stunt work and stunt coordination.
Mhm.
What do you think about what do you think it will take for institutions like the Oscars to recognize stunt work as an artistic like element of cinema?
Well, I think it's the steps have been implemented. It's Ryan and Emily, what they did at the Oscars this year, and
Hmm.
David Leitch and Kelly McCormick, the director and producers of the movie, they've done such an incredible job at shining such a positive spotlight on this industry, and it was almost like the film was kind of a campaign for that. I mean, it was a special movie, and it was incredible, but it
Hmm.
also did a job of um, shining a brighter light on the stunt industry. It's like the only department in the film industry that isn't recognized, and it's crazy. I
Hmm.
mean, we risk our lives, and unfortunately, like things go wrong sometimes, and people lose their lives doing stunts. It's the
Yeah.
only job, and it's the only department that does that comes to work and risks their life every day. Um, especially on a movie like Fall Guy, we really pushed the limits. I mean, we had Troy Brown, you know,
Hmm.
flipping backwards out of a helicopter 150 feet. You know, and we had Logan Holiday, you know, breaking world records and driving, you know, 85 mile an hour down a beach
Yeah.
with, for lack of a better term, a bomb attached to the car and a button that detonates that bomb and makes him flip 8.5 times down the beach. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's serious stuff, and it's intense, and it's and it's a shame that we're not already recognized. You know, we never.
Hmm.
I don't think any of us got into this wanting recognition. I didn't get into stunts, you know, wanting to win an Oscar or anything like that. I got into it because of my passion for movement and for my passion for you know, creativity and coming
Hmm.
up with cool things and having the opportunity to do things like, I mean, Fall Guy was insane. Getting the opportunity to surf across the Sydney's Harbour Bridge on the
Yeah.
back of a bin truck door, like holding onto a shovel, like weaving in and out of traffic, like that's insane. Like, when do you get to do that? Like, and that's something that as a kid I grew up, and you know, you watch these Jackie Chan videos, and he's doing, you know, he's hooking himself onto the back of a bus with an umbrella and dragging his feet and climbing up to the side. Like, that's the stuff I wanted to do, and that's the stuff that really caught my eye and caught my attention. And now that I get to do that, you know, with the Harbour Bridge, or leaping from a camera car to a helicopter, and
Hmm.
it's just things like that. Like, it just really excites me, and it's so cool. But yeah, I think, you know, ultimately, I think every single department in the who's involved in the creative process of making a movie should be recognized, you know,
Agreed. Yeah.
and I think that stunts are no different. You know, they absolutely should. I mean, we have our own like genre of movies. You have your romance movies, your comedy, your thrillers, and then your action. Like, we have our own segment of kind of movies, yet we don't have any recognition.
Hmm.
So I think it's time, and I think Fall Guy has really, you know, cemented that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think it will be much longer until we are in there.
Yeah, I think our server is a really big fan of the Oscars, and we are always looking at the awards sometimes where they're not honoring some of the, you know, the biggest films that are putting, like, you know, bringing people to theaters, and it's always like it's really making us scratch our heads. So, you know, it's cool that the Fall Guy kind of like, you know, explored that, and took a jab at it, because I think it is something that needs to be recognized. Um,
I
so
agree.
yeah, and I think a lot of our members here would really want to know what was the most difficult stunt, or some of your favorite stunts that you got to do in the film.
Oh, most difficult stunt. Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, my favorite stunt is, that's also a hard question. I mean, you know,
Gotcha.
usually when you work on a movie, you know, even if it is an action-packed movie, you'll come in and you'll do prep, and then you'll you know, you'll have like a week where you're doing stunts, and then you'll have a little break, and then you'll do a couple of days where you're doing stunts, and then you'll have another break, and it's very spread out throughout the whole, you know, process of the movie. But this was back to back, like day in and day out, was you know, just some of the coolest, craziest stunts that I've done before. It was, you know, I had some firsts on this show. um
Hmm.
it was the first time ever getting set on fire for me, so I that was cool to kind of check that box, and it was a first to get hit by a car. So you know, I think it's hard to say anything. I mean, you know, I did 8 Fireburn ratchets.
Hmm.
I did 1 the first day and 7 the following day. You know, so I got lit on fire 7 times in one day, and then ratcheted after. I had to run into an explosion and ratcheted back into a rock. Um, you know, and that was all day. It was kind of like one every 45 minutes. I would do the explosion, do the burn, and then kind of go back to the wardrobe tent, and you know, change out the items of clothing that were burnt to shreds, and then re gel up and kind of get ready for the next burn, and that kind of happened all day. And you know, so that was a special one. The car hit was special. It was, you know, call me crazy, but I've always wanted to get hit by a car. It's just something that as a stunt performer, I was like, I need to do that before I kind of move on with my career.
I feel like you
So
got to do it all in this film.
yeah, I really did, and you know, a lot of people were just like, you know, you've done a lifetime of stunts in one movie, and it's true. You know, I was so fortunate, and you know, massive thanks to Chris O'Hara, for, you know, for putting me in the spot. It was, you know, it was really it was an honor to be called for a movie like this, and but yeah, it really was a lifetime of stunts in one movie. So to pick a favorite is hard.
Mm-hmm.
They all have their, like, their place. There's some I was more scared of, and there was some that were just an insane experience. The Harbor Bridge was just like, was insane. It was almost like a pinch me moment. You had to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because we started, they had the bridge from, like, I forget what it was, it 4 a.m. till 10, or 6 till 10 or something. So we didn't have it very long on a Sunday morning. So they shut down the bridge, and when we got there, it was like pitch black. So we had to, like, do like an hour or two rehearsals of it, you know, in the dark before it got light. We wanted to make sure we had as much time in the light as possible. So when Ryan got there, it was all ready and prepped and set up for him. And you know, so we're doing it in the dark, and we just, you know, you kind of can't really see much. You can't see the you know, the environment. You can't really see past the bridge. You can't see the water. But then when it started lighting up, I was like, wow, like, take this in, Ben. It's just like, it's so cool to kind of just be on this bridge and shut down this bridge and be surfing across it. It was insane. It was such a surreal moment. So
I
to
mean,
pick
it
a
looks
favorite is
surreal.
hard. Yeah, to pick a favorite is hard.
Yeah.
And then difficult. I mean, I'm not too sure. There was so many. I mean, you know, we really wanted to push the limits and do push boundaries and represent the stunt community. So we didn't want to do anything that was kind of like half-assed or
Mm-hmm.
you know, or lame. So all the stuff, you know, even the air run, we wanted to do like a really cool, complex, you know, flip and pay homage to one of our bosses, whose signature move that was, and um, you know, it's just, I mean, there was so much, the prep that went into the Fireburn. There was different options of, like, hitting the rock, and do we chip off it and do a kind of a
Mm-hmm.
spin and chip off the rock, or do we just go straight to the back and drop? And you know, so the difficult parts kind of come in the prep phase, figuring out
Yeah.
what we're going to do, figuring out, like, navigating your way through these fight scenes, and you know, the Alma chase was difficult. The whole bin truck chase was a
Yeah.
difficult one to do. It was, so many logistics went into that. The special effects team who built all those rigs for the bin to be spinning and the bin to flip on its side were absolutely incredible. Those guys were rock stars, and you know, that was difficult to navigate, like, story wise, like, how do we get
Mm-hmm.
here, and what makes sense for the escape and the final bit, and how do we get Ryan to the
Mm-hmm.
bin, and to the back of the truck when the bin is gone. And it was, you know, that was a difficult one logistically and kind of just creatively.
Yeah.
But stunt wise, I mean, you know, they were all difficult, and you know, I got my ass kicked on that movie, and you know, I feel the difficult thing was just sticking in there, and keeping my body, you know, in good shape, and well enough to continue.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys did a really great job. That chase on the bridge was insane to watch, and it was cool to see that Ryan even got to do some of it. But then, like, just the dynamic of it, you know, when it falls off and all that stuff, it's very very cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a cool scene. Yeah, it
yeah.
took a lot of minds to create that one. It really did, but I think it paid off.
Yeah, it's got some Jackie Chan aspects to it, and I'm a big fan of Jackie. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think we all are,
Hmm.
and how can you not? You know, how can you not, you know, pay respect to one of, if not the greatest, to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and that he is, I think, for everyone, for any action film, he's inspiration. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, definitely Jackie vibes going through the whole thing.
Absolutely. And I think the
Yeah.
Fall Guy really kind of explored those kind of like those type of action films that's not really been prevalent in like regular media these days. So I very much enjoyed it from that aspect. I
Yeah.
think last question here. I think a lot of people would like to know what it was like working with David Leitch. He was a stunt person, and now that it's kind of like come full circle, like how was that dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, it was great, and it was so nice to work with somebody who, he really knows what he's talking about, especially in our world. I've worked with many different people before, and some directors kind of pass all the action to second unit and let the second unit director and the stunt coordinator kind of take care of that. But it was so nice to kind of have him as the kind of leader of the squad,
Hmm.
and with his experience in stunts and filmmaking, it was very easy. Like, the whole creative process kind of gets cut in half when you have a person like that leading the way, because um, he has the brain for it, he has the mindset, he has the vision to know what it takes to achieve a stunt like that, and especially with this movie, like several, so many incredible stunts and huge stunts. He kind of knows what it takes to do that.
Hmm.
So it was planned out great, and we had a fantastic leader. I remember before I was doing the car hit, like I said before, it was
Hmm.
the first time I'd ever done a car hit before. So we rehearsed it in prep, and we padded up the car, and I wore a helmet, and we had like soft ground and everything. And but on the day, all that goes away. The helmet goes away. You're in wardrobe. You have to wear a little bit less padding, and you go in. You get hit by a real car, and you're landing
Hmm.
on the real concrete. And
Yeah.
it's funny. I remember before I did it, I asked him for advice on got any advice on how to get hit by this car, like, and which was quite a funny moment, that almost like a full circle moment of I've never asked a director before how to get hit
Yeah.
by a car, and he was the perfect guy to do it. I mean, he's done many car hits before. He did a bunch on Born Supremacy, and and a bunch of other films. But it was quite funny, and I've told that story a couple of times about asking the director advice on how to get hit by a car before I get hit by a car. And he gave me some good pointers and gave me a mark to hit, and it went great. And we went over and watched monitor, and it looked awesome. And he was like, "You want to do one
Hmm.
more?" I said, "Sure, let's go." So I did it again. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ben, for sitting down here with our community at Movies and Filmmaking. The film was awesome. You and David Leitch really gave a great love letter to the film industry and stunt people as a whole. Thank you to Universal Home Entertainment for this opportunity to meet with Ben. Fall Guy is available now to rent or buy on digital. Thanks, everyone.